Hello and a very warm welcome to this special program on News Mobile. I'm Saurav Sanyal, and joining me today are two exceptional Indians, I would say. Two Indians who went out of their way and volunteered for something that we have all been waiting for, the COVID-19 vaccine. Joining me from the United Kingdom is Mr. Deepak Paliwal, who has volunteered for the Oxford vaccine trials. Also with me is Mr. Chiranjit Dhibar, who joins us from West Bengal. He's also volunteered himself for the vaccine trials here in India. Thank you, शुक्रिया आप दोनों को ज्वाइन करने के लिए इस डिस्कशन में. Let me start with you, Deepak ji. I want to ask you, the world is waiting eagerly for the COVID-19 vaccine. Every morning, when people wake up, they scan the world over, the newspapers, or they go online to see that what's the new development on the vaccine front. You are there in United Kingdom, and when AstraZeneca trials were going on schedule, suddenly news came in that the trials have been halted. But then again, the clouds cleared off and the trials began once again. What were the thoughts that were crossing your mind then, and what are the thoughts that are crossing your mind now?
Saurav, I think it was not the start of the trial. We started the trial, like I got the first jab on 11th of May. And this, the small hitch came in somewhere around a week back or two, which was, I think, 8th of September. So we have literally completed 4 months of the trial. And then there was a case because they started phase 3 also. And I was a part of the phase 2 trial. So we were not aware of what and how it happened, but we also, we were told by the trial team that there was a person who had an adverse effect. And it was not that time known whether it's due to the trial or the vaccine he or she received, or it was non-vaccine related incident. So they took a break, which happens in most of the clinical trials, just not that it happened in this clinical trial. It literally happens in 90% of the clinical trial. Wherever there's an adverse effect, the trial will be stopped. There's an independent inquiry. It's not the same team which is a part of the trial does the inquiry. So there was an independent inquiry. And within a week, it was found that the adverse reaction was not related to the clinical trial exactly. So yes, people do get worried. Even I got worried that there is a person who's being, who's a part of the team who got the vaccine was not well. And more than me, I think the social pressure, the family pressure, which comes on your head that, how are you? What's happening? Is that you? Many people were messaging me, is that you? So I think that will continue. But then being from a pharma background, I understand that, there has to be some issues with the clinical trial, and we will be getting a booster dose very soon.
Deepak ji, I want to ask you, when you had volunteered, जब आपने volunteer किया था, what were the thoughts? आपको क्या trigger आया था कि नहीं ठीक है, I will go ahead and volunteer myself for the COVID-19 vaccine?
So this all started somewhere around March end, and tab tak, I think it has not started that bad in India, but it was very bad in UK. The virus was spreading a lot, and there was a lot of pressure everywhere. We were not going to work. There was a pressure on NHS. There was pressure on the doctors, nurses, police, everywhere. And then a friend of mine just messaged me, will you like to be a part of the trial? I said, why not? Let's try to do something good if it can happen through me. So I just registered, not was sure that, I will be selected because they were searching for healthy volunteers. So I said, let me see if I'm healthy, then why not? And went for a screening, got the mail that, yeah, you are healthy now. Can you come for a shot? And then all started from 11th of May.
दीपक जी, आप और चिरंजीत दोनों ने you have taken the plunge. मैं चिरंजीत के पास जाने से पहले एक छोटा सा सवाल. You talked about the family. You talked about a friend calling you up and asking you that will you want to volunteer, and you thought why not, if something good happens to others through me, why not? Now you went through an elaborate process of screening is what we heard earlier. Just briefly recap that process of screening, and also mentally, how did you make yourself up that, okay, I am right and I am confident that I'll be able to volunteer myself for this kind of a trial?
Uh, First thing, I think it was all the screening, all the body parameters, whether you have got comorbid conditions like diabetes, hypertension, because these are the risky conditions where the virus was affecting easily. So they did all the blood tests and all the various different parameters, whether the body is healthy, because I don't think so. It was individual thing that time. They wanted perfect healthy, because if something goes wrong, at least the body on its own can fight back, you know. I think that's the reason they select the healthy bodies first. Coming to the mental thing, I think people like me and Chiranjeev don't think much what to do then next. You know, somewhere you have to be a little mad also that you have to just go for it. I think even Saurav, if you were given an option, you must have also opted because the
Absolutely.
situation that time was odd.
Absolutely, I can tell you that that goes without.
The situation that time was so odd that there was no hope coming in from anywhere. And then there was a slight hope, and you'll have to trust, if it was a pharma company, if it was a monetary gain for any trial, I must have not gone for it. Oxford is a very prestigious university, and I thought, if why not? And being in UK for some time and being into pharma world right from the starting, every medicine what we eat, what my parents eat, what your parents eat, or anybody is eating has gone through a clinical trial. So there were few guys who have done the clinical trial that time also. So just think, every, and if we don't do clinical trial, if you, me, Chiranjeev don't, and anybody don't participate, there'll not be any clinical trial. There'll not be any discoveries. So it has to be somewhere you have to be, little
It
mad
has to
also.
come from within, and I think that is what makes us different from others also. That that spark has to come from within. Yes, there are definitely fears, apprehensions, but then we also need to look at the larger picture. Chiranjeev, uh, आपके पास आऊंगा, मैं जानना चाहूंगा कि आप वेस्ट बंगाल से है, आपने दीपक जी से पूछा कि कैसे होता है बिफोर यू वेंट फॉर द ट्रायल्स योरसेल्फ हियर इन इंडिया। तो आपको कैसे लगा कि हाँ, मन में क्या आया था कि जो आपको लगा कि नहीं, अगर जैसे दीपक जी ने बताया कि अगर मेरे से अगर और किसी का भला हो जाए तो क्यों नहीं, मैं इसके लिए वॉलंटियर करूंगा। इसमें फैमिली का सपोर्ट कैसा रहा, आपका जो इकोसिस्टम है, पेरेंट्स का सपोर्ट कैसा रहा, और आपने खुद को किस तरह से तैयार किया इसके?
मैंने यहाँ पर फेज 1 के लिए अप्लाई किए थे, और जो कोवैक्सीन है जो ICMR और भारत बायोटेक में जो बोथ कोलैबोरेट करके निकला तो इस बारे में हमको कुछ नहीं पता था। सिर्फ दीपक जी ने वैसे कहा कि हम लोग जैसे मैड की तरह है, मतलब हम एक देश प्रेम के भावना से मतलब एक मानव जाति के हित में हम काम करने आए थे, और ये करना है और बहुत अच्छी तरह निभाना है, तो इसके लिए डेडिकेट किए हम हमारा बॉडी को। तो ये मेरा मन में था कि हाँ, एटलीस्ट कुछ नहीं होगा। तो जैसे कि साइड इफेक्ट का है, देखिए बहुत हर एक जो वैक्सीन के है वो एक एक तरीका क्या होता है, मतलब किसी का 2 डोज से होता है, किसी का 4 डोज लगता है, कभी बूस्टर होता है, मतलब ऐसे कुछ कुछ मैंने सभी का एक जैसा नहीं होता है। लेकिन जो चीज एक जैसा या कुछ है, वो हमको वहां पर मैंने जाने में पता चला कि देखिए हम तो एक गिनी पिग के जैसा है, ठीक है। हम पहले समझ रहे थे पूरा पब्लिक हमको हीरो मानने लगे थे, कुछ कुछ हो रहा था, लेकिन वहां पर हम जाके देखे कि हम आई एम लाइक ए गिनी पिग। और एक चीज हमको पता चला, हम अपने कॉस्टिंग से वहां पर गए, अपने कॉस्टिंग से यहाँ पर आए सिर्फ वॉलंटियरशिप के लिए, और मतलब हम देश के हित में, मानव जाति के हित में सिर्फ मेरा बॉडी दिए। और उन्होंने क्या टेस्ट किया, कैसे किया, सिर्फ कैसे किया मतलब मुझे पता है, लेकिन वो टेस्ट करके क्या मतलब रिपोर्ट्स वगैरह कुछ है, वो पूरा प्रोटोकॉल के हिसाब से वो लोग भी हमको डिस्कस नहीं किया। और बहुत चीज हम भी मतलब पूछने पर भी हमको नहीं बोला गया। तो बहुत अच्छा फीलिंग हुआ था। और जब फर्स्ट ट्रायल के पहले रात हम मतलब नींद नींद नहीं आया था, और सेल्फ मोटिवेट कर रहे थे कि हाँ हमको लड़ना है बस ये। और मेरा पिताजी मम्मी जी बहुत सपोर्ट किए थे, पहले बहुत आपत्ति जताए थे बहुत नाखुश थे, लेकिन जिस तरह से जैसे विश्व में भी हमारा जब यहाँ पर लॉकडाउन फर्स्ट स्टेज में चल रहा था, तभी दीपक जी को पता होगा कि सारा विश्व में लाख के ऊपर पूरा डेथ केस चल रहा था, ठीक है। और मतलब तभी तो इंडिया में सिर्फ 100 या 1000 डेथ केस चल रहा, तो ऐसा मतलब सिर्फ शुरुआत हुआ है। तो उस टाइम से हमको ये मतलब ख्याल आया कि देखिए, हम लोग सोशल वर्क करने से टेम्पररी सोल्यूशन होता है, लेकिन वी नीड अ परमानेंट सोल्यूशन टू डिफीट कोरोना पैंडेमिक। ये हमको तभी पता चल गया था जब अप्रैल महीना में आए थे, और तभी हम 27 अप्रैल को आईसीएमआर में चिट्ठी भेजे कि मेरा बॉडी जब लगेगा आप लीजिए, ह्यूमन ट्रायल जब जरूरत पड़ेगा। तब तो वैक्सीन का कोई मतलब यहाँ पर नामो निशान नहीं था कि कौन सा आ रहा है कुछ भी ज्यादा। तो जब जुलाई महीने में हमको पता चला कि यहाँ कोवैक्सीन, जो यहाँ का भारतवर्ष का एक आत्मनिर्भरता का एक प्रतीक जो माना जा रहा है, वो हमारा स्वदेशी जो वैक्सीन वो निकलने जा रहा है। और बहुत जो फास्ट ट्रैक जो ट्रायल बताया जा रहा है, शायद वो थोड़ा डिसीजन चेंजिंग के वजह से हमारा ट्रायल थोड़ा डिले हुआ, लेकिन ये बहुत मतलब विद इन 1 मंथ जैसे ट्रायल का बात हो रहा था, तभी हमको कॉल आया। और आफ्टर दैट डिसीजन थोड़ा चेंज होने के बाद हमको मेल आया, ऑफिशियल मेल आया, और हमको बुलाया गया। और हम भुवनेश्वर में जो सेंटर है, द आईएमएस एंड साम हॉस्पिटल, उसका अंडर में जो प्रिवेंटिव एंड थेरापेटिक जो क्लिनिकल ट्रायल यूनिट है, वहाँ पर हमारा डोज लगा है। तो फर्स्ट फेज के लिए मेरे ऊपर 2 डोज लगा है। कोई कोई अगर चाहे तो फेज 1 फेज 2 एक साथ अप्लाई कर सकता था। तो हमने जैसे कि बाहर से गए थे, इसीलिए वहां पर रहने के लिए मतलब थोड़ा दिक्कत भी हो रहा था, तो और 1 महीना रहना था, क्योंकि दीपक जी के जैसे उसका घर से मतलब नजदीक था जो ट्रायल सेंटर, लेकिन मेरा तो यहाँ से बहुत 400
Right.
किलोमीटर नियर अबाउट या डिस्टेंस है। तो इसके लिए हमको मतलब फेज 1 के लिए ही मतलब हमने अप्लाई किए, और जो जो फेज 2 के लिए किए थे वो 2 डोज प्लस 1 डोज, टोटल 3 डोज, मतलब ये 2 फेजों में
प्रॉपर प्रिडिक्शन था कि किस तरह से ट्रायल्स होगा, फेज 1 फेज 2 इसको। तो आई वांट टू आस्क यू दीपक जी, what kind of counseling was done, what did the Oxford University tell you, that how we are going about with it? Were you explained the pros and cons completely?
Yes, we were sent some literature to read. We were shown few videos that what are the pros and cons and what are the vaccines. So we were given all the choices. Even like before, 5 minutes before getting the jab, they asked, do you want to continue and do you want to, get the jab? Because once they leave and get the injection from wherever they were, then there's no turning back. So, and I think there was no point of. I even inquired few of the friends of mine who work in clinical research companies. So I have sent them, that this is the trial, and they said this is one of the best planned clinical trials. It's very safe, and the chemical composition of the vaccine, which is for COVID-19, is quite similar to the meningitis vaccine. So if you have gone through the 500 people out there got the COVID vaccine and 500 got the meningitis vaccine, and nobody was aware who got who. But only few people got 2 vaccines of 10 people got 2 vaccines of COVID-19. So it was apparent that if a person has got 2, then he is being trialed on the COVID-19. And the person who's getting booster, because there's no booster for meningitis vaccine. So whoever is being called for the booster has to be with the COVID one. So yeah, I think it's how even like you were saying about how the companies or the universities make the volunteers very comfortable. When this news came out in the media about the adverse reaction and halting, we were told a day before. We were told a day before when the clinical trial was initiating. We were even told about we regular communication is there through email that what happened to that person, though we cannot tell to the media. We were shared the media guidelines. So that's a risk, when the half-cooked story comes out. People have even diagnosed that what was the problem with the volunteer who had an adverse reaction, and I don't think so. Nobody released that data.
Yes, this should not be speculated at all, because there are certain things, there's a clear demarcation, what can be reported, what should be reported, because what is in public good. And that is exactly what we at News Mobile, we strive to do. And that's the whole intention why today, I decided to, catch up with both you and Chiranjeet to understand your story. Now, before we wrap up this discussion, Chiranjeet, मैं एक सवाल करना चाहूँगा आपसे कि ये जो वैक्सीन हर दिन सुबह उठ के लोग पेपर स्कैन करते हैं या सारा दिन अपने मोबाइल पे देखते रहते हैं कि वैक्सीन रिलेटेड खबरों के बारे में कि कब आ रहा है वैक्सीन, व्हेन इज द वैक्सीन कमिंग। जैसे रशिया ने स्पुतनिक को लॉन्च किया है नाउ, अभी दे आर आल्सो टाइंग अप विद इंडिया फॉर सम काइंड ऑफ क्लिनिकल ट्रायल्स दैट विल हैपन हियर। आपको क्या लगता है कि ये वैक्सीन्स का ये जो बेसब्री से जो इंतजार है, बाय व्हेन कैन वी एक्सपेक्ट एन आंसर? आपको क्या लगता है?
मुझे जो मतलब एक फीलिंग्स आया और वहाँ का जो प्रैक्टिकल हमने देखे और कुछ कुछ मुझे लगता है कि अभी देखिए बहुत बाजार में बहुत तो वैक्सीन अभी आविष्कार हुआ है, लेकिन बाजार में आने तक जो सेफ्टी जो रीजन, ये सेफ्टी एक ऐसा ऐसा चीज है जिसके लिए मतलब कंपटीशन जो चल रहा है, ठीक है, सीरम कोवैक्सीन कौन आएगा, रशिया से आएगा या कहाँ से, लेकिन मुझे मानना है कि सेफ्टी के लिए थोड़ा इंतजार करना पड़ेगा। और जैसे जैसे ये देखिए ये खिलवाड़ नहीं है, मतलब
Absolutely, and I
इसलिए
think
हम लोग
आपने
गए।
बहुत अच्छी तरह से इसको समझाया दीपक जी। Before we wrap up, just want to have your perspective on this. You know, this global race for vaccines that we're talking about, every country has different vaccines under different stages of clinical trials. Trials are going on in Russia. Questions are being raised about the status of vaccines in other countries. What is the way forward? Will we again go back to the earlier normal, like a pre-COVID normal, or will this be the new normal going forward as well?
I think we are very much waiting sort of for the vaccine, and as I've told, there are 12 clinical trial in phase 3 right now. So it has to be one of these which will be getting it first. See, I being a part of phase 2, the results of phase 2 were announced somewhere in 90 days from the time I started. Okay. Phase 3 of Oxford started with 10,000 plus volunteers and started on 15th of June. So I'm thinking, let's say, give them 4 months because of the small gap. So 4 months, they should announce the phase 3 results. So by end of October or start of November, the phase 3 results should be with us for this Oxford clinical trial, which has announced the phase 2 number 1, So by end of this year or before, we should be having a vaccine if all goes well. The companies which are manufacturing AstraZeneca and India, the Serum India, they're already stockpiling the vaccine. It should not happen that if in October and it gets success and then we should start manufacturing in November. So we should be ready. But I don't think so. The vaccine will be available for all the worldwide, or for all population. Initially, the way UK has decided, it will go to the doctors, NHS, high-risk patients like elderly, and then it should be coming to the youngsters. It's still a clinical trial. It can go wrong. There may be something like every year you need to get the way flu vaccine is working, that every year you have to take, and I think that's why the booster dose is being tested now. Booster dose, I can tell you, I'll be getting it on 1st of October. I've received the confirmation. I think this is the first time I'm sharing with anybody on the media. So that will be an interesting thing because many were predicting that this adverse reaction happened due to the booster dose because I was supposed to get it on 7th of September. So I'm sure that's not, but I will be getting a booster dose on 1st of October. So I hope all goes well.
Absolutely. And fingers crossed, we hope that everything goes well with both of you. Thank you so much for speaking with us. But, all I can say that as we all continue to wait for the vaccine and reports come in of some reinfection in some cases of people who had already recovered from COVID-19 after hospital treatment, one thing is for sure, while the wait for the pharma vaccine continues, as the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare here in India says, possibly we need to keep in mind that the only thing that can keep all of us safe and sound during this interim phase is social vaccine, which includes maintaining social distancing, adhering to simple norms, not letting our guard down, wearing masks when we step out, and ensuring that our hands are sanitized and clean at all points in time. I wish you from the News Mobile team all the very best, Chiranjeet and Deepak ji. A big thank you to both of you for joining us on this discussion, and I'm sure what you have shared today will be watched by hundreds and thousands of people, and then definitely will act as a strong moral vaccine, so to say, for people watching the broadcast. Thanks for joining.
Thank you, Saurabh.
Thank you.